Hi everybody, my name is Aaron, so welcome to a brand new video. Just before we begin, it would be awesome if you can leave a comment if you want to see more videos like this. Let's begin. So now we are actually going to do a few stuff. Remove the menu logic. I want to change the name of the script. You don't actually have to remove it, but just to make things a little bit more simple. Let's call it as a Photon handler. Now you're gonna see that we have some kind of an arrow. Let's click on the arrow, and as you can see we are actually calling to menu logic, which doesn't longer exist. So we want to save Photon handler, which is our script, with not a capital letter, and call it as a P handler. I think it would be better for me. So here we are going to actually call the function that moves a scene. Already done that, I just want to do it again. So public void move scene. So photon network.load level, and you can put a string of your scene here. Main game for myself. Save the script and let's remove this code. And P handler move scene, and right here we are moving a scene. Now this script should not be destroyed, so we are going to create a private void awake, and we are going to say don't destroy on load. So simply this.transform. Let's save all of this up. Okay, let's drag the stuff. Button handler should be here and photon script should be here. You can just drag it like this. Now we are actually going to need to create another Gameobject and remove the script from here. So just click on the circle and click remove component. You can right click and create empty. Just gonna be saying photon don't destroy. Drag the script and just go ahead and drag the P handler again. Let's open the photon buttons. So if you haven't checked already, if you're going to actually try and join to a string that the room doesn't exist, it's going to give you some kind of an errors. So let's fix that. We are going to basically use a built-in method of photon. You're gonna see in a moment. So room options. Let's create a room options for the new room if we will need to create a new one. The max player is going to be 4, and the method called photon network.join or create room. We are basically just going to take the same string again, join room, input.text, set the room options, and the type of lobby is going to be default. Okay, so what's going on? Basically, if we are going to try to join a room that basically doesn't exist, so if I type friendly server and this friendly server doesn't exist, then it will automatically create a new room with those options or properties, etc. Awesome guys, now let's go ahead and open our main game. And now we are actually going to do what a lot of people, I think, wanted to see. So basically working on the character and spawning it, maybe jumping and moving, etc. So I'm just going to drag the player prefab into the scene. And if you remember correctly, we have a camera inside of as a child and the main camera of the current scene. So let's create a add component and a new script. I'm going to be calling it as a player move. Double click to open it up. Now because this is an object that will go across the network, it will move and have its own values. We are going to be using photon.monoBehavior. So just remove the start functions and let's start creating a few variables. Nothing really special, so like the move speed, you can set it up, the public, float, jump force. It can be a bit high because our gravity scale is a bit high too, so just remember that. We do going to have a photon view component, which you're gonna see in a moment. So we can actually either use get component or just create a variable. You can do whatever you want. So Photon View, and just make sure it has the capital letter. And there we go. Now let me just go back. I'm not gonna save it. I want to show you the photon view. Basically, if this is an object that goes across the network, it must have a photon view, which basically takes all of the values, the transform, etc., and passes it into little packs across the network. So for example, Photon has rigid body to the view, which means if we add it, it will automatically sync all of the rigid body movement. So I'm not going to be doing that. We are actually going to be doing all of our movement from our code, put the PL move script into the non-component, which basically tells us the photon view to observe this script and passes the values that it needs to pass across the network. So back into our code, let's type private void update and say if photon view is mine. So basically it simply says that if we control the local player, so if we don't have this if statement, we will be actually controlling every single player that spawns in the game. Your friend will control your player and you're gonna control other players, etc. It's just gonna be a big mess. You're gonna have to have this if statement. So else, and we're gonna have another one which is going to be called smooth net movement. So simple as that. Okay, so now let's simply create those two functions. So private check input, and another one which is the smooth net movement. The smooth net movement will be, which means like if we are not controlling the local player, it means that we are seeing other players and we want to smooth things up, because if we don't gonna do that, you're gonna see that the players look a bit laggy, and if you probably have some experience in networking, you're gonna have to do this a lot. The check input is simply going to be all of our movement code, basic movement. So let's create a var move, new vector 3, and put the input get axis and horizontal. I don't want to mistype it, so I'm just gonna copy and paste it. 1 second. There we go, and close it up. Transform that position. I think I already used this code. If you do have it, you can just copy and paste it. Equals by our move speed and by time.delta time, which is fine. Now I think that's about it, and at least for now in the check input. Let's move things up now. Now let's create another variable, which will be a private one. So private vector 3, and I'm gonna be calling it self position or self pose. It's fine too. And back into our smooth net movement, we are going to be saying transform.position equals to vector3.lerp, closing it up, transform.position, putting our vector2 variable that we just created, which is the self pose, and time.delta time, and you can make it equals by a little number. I'm not quite sure. I'm gonna put like 8. Usually I use 10, which is a bit much. We want to create another function, so let me just copy it out because I don't want to make some typos. So private void on photon serialized view, photon stream variable, photon message info, and info if we have some kind of an error. So basically here we are going to be saying if statement that is writing, then it basically means that this is our local player. We want to send aka stream our positions, etc. So it will be very easy, stream.send next, and put our transform.position right here. Else, which means we are reading any data, so self pause, which is vector 3 stream receive next, and really that's about it. Now I do want to make testing a bit more easier for us the developers, so let's create a public boolean which is dev testing, by default it's gonna be equals to false. And before, you know, doing all of this functions, we are going to create a big if statements, which if dev testing is false and only if it false, then you go and move on, which basically says if we don't want to now test this out without going through the main menu, connecting, creating a server, all of this, you can actually say only else, and it does going to need to check the input and basically do the same things, only when you run the game without the dev testing, it will not move, it will just stuck and you're gonna get a bunch of errors. So let's go back to Unity after you save this up. We're going to run the game when the dev testing is off, then we're gonna get a bunch of weird things. At the moment I don't even know why it is so laggy. Now let's turn this back on, run the game again. And there you go, we can move very fast. So let's just make it a big, oh yeah, just change the value to something as 5. I do want to make a few changes that we're gonna need to do just to fix stuff later. So first of all, let's call it as a main player. Go ahead and open our rigid body and freeze the rotation so we won't have a weird rotation when we spawn. Also make sure the dev testing is false because we are going to spawn it, and if we are going to spawn it, then you know, it means we want to control it through the Photon networking and not as a dev tester. So now go ahead and delete our old prefab and create a new folder. So it is going to be called resources. Open it up and drag our main player into the resources folder. So awesome, you can delete this one from our scene and let's move on. Okay guys, let's open up the Photon buttons. I want to make a few changes here. So instead of like creating the Photon network room inside of the script, we are going to call Photon handler, which is going to do all of those functions. I don't want to mess it up and make it messy, so you know, I don't want to make this function to actually open a server. I just want to call a function that will open a server in the Photon handler. So let's open up the Photon handler and give a few functions here. So one is going to be the public void open, or you know what, create room, create new room, sorry. And we are just going to copy the same you know, values from onClick create room. So just go ahead and copy that up and paste it. We are going to need to give a reference to our create room input. We're gonna do it in a few moments. Now another one is going to be the public void join or create room. Again, copy the same values. Awesome. Okay, now we actually want to copy the same things. So on join room, let's just go ahead and Control C it and just copy it right here. And again, we can remove the .p handler, so it will automatically go to this function. And now we need to give reference for our input fields. So let's just remove everything we have here. I mean, not everything, just remove the private onJoined room and the built-in functions. Now we simply do p handler dot create new room, and on click join room, p handler join or create new room. Now let's give a reference for our script. So public photon buttons, photon b, and we are going to want to put it right here. So let's go ahead and type dot, and right here type photon b, and the same things goes, sorry, right here. So that's about it. Now let's save this up and save this up, or save all. Awesome, so now it looks much better. Back to Unity, let's drag out our script. So you can click on the dot and just drag the game object. It will automatically find the script that it needs. Again, this game object doesn't get destroyed. Okay guys, so we will be using another thing, which is Unity engine, scene management, and we are going to have a few functions. And I'm going to create a function that will identify when we have finished loading a scene, which is our main scene. So just be aware of the capital letters. It is a built-in function within Unity. So OnSceneFinishedLoading, scene, and load scene mod. Let's call it a mod. And we need to be checking if we finished loading on the scene that we want to check. So if it is the main menu, we don't want to do anything, right? So it is going to be scene.name equals to your main game, which is main game in my case. Hey guys, right here we are going to spawn our player. So let's create another private void, which is spawn player. And we are simply going to call the spawn player right here. And spawning our player. So it is actually going to be Photon network dot, not sure how to say it, close it up. So main player dot name. And it is dot name because it is a string. So dot transform position, and main player dot transform dot rotation, and a value of a 0. So close this up, and we are ready for testing. So back to Unity. Okay guys, so open our actually player movement script. I want to make a few changes. I forgot that I didn't close it up, so this actually method is not working. I actually forgot to close it up, so this function right here doesn't actually work. And I need to create another public game object, which is going to be our PL cam, basically our PL camera, player camera, and closing this up, and then enabling our player camera. So that's about it. Now save this up. Okay, go to resources and make sure to drag our player camera into here. Now another important thing is you need to disable it. As a prefab, it will be automatically disabled. We won't spawn it when it's enabled, because then we get a bunch of errors and annoying issues. So again, drag the camera when it's offline. Dev test setting should be off, and we are ready for a run. So build and run. Go ahead and play the windowed mode. So create a server. I'm gonna be calling it as a test server. So as you can see, I spawned, and because we don't have any background, it's really hard to see that we are moving. So we're gonna need another player. Run in the editor and join the server name. So I think it was test. Shit. Okay, it was test. Awesome. So we are spawned and we can move, and yep. You can see the other player move. It may seem a bit laggy, I think. Not laggy, but it has a little bit of delay, which we can simply fix, and I'm gonna show you in a few moments. But yeah, so far it works good. I didn't apply the jump yet, but theoretically all you need to do is put a function which is add force, for example, and because we are transforming the general position, it will transform the Y value too, so jumping will work also. Okay guys, so right here we are simply going to say photon network.sendRate. The default is already 20, so we can make it 30, which is big enough, I think. And another photon.sendRate on serialize, which default is actually 10, and we can make it 20. To be honest, there is pros and cons using this and changing the values. You should definitely play with it around, see what fits for your game. So yeah guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it wasn't too long. We have spawned our player, we have learned how to join other players. And yeah, I think that's about it. I will continue this series, hopefully. It does take a large amount of time making this series, so I do appreciate each comment I see. Thank you guys for the support. And yeah, we'll see you next week, even though I will upload really soon another video, which I hope you will really like. I can't say what the video is about, and it is not about a devlog, so sorry about that, but it is something a bit unique, so stay tuned for that. And thank you guys for watching. I will see you next week. Bye.